Hello everyone, I'm Santiago and today I'm going to be testing VRAM 1.0 thanks to Stunlock Studios for providing a code of the game. So this game is now out of early access, we have the 1.0 version, and one of the main things about this game was that there was no gamepad support. Well, I'm happy to report that it's actually there now. We have an official layout and it supports gamepad, although I'll do one change enabled for this to work properly. In trackpads, make sure that the right trackpad is actually a mouse. I will tell you why in a moment. And the click would be a left click. So once you map it like this, go back. And let's get into the game. Alright, so in the options, first of all, you can use the bumpers to move around the menu. The thing is, you cannot actually change the settings only using a gamepad. It kind of breaks. So that's why we map the right trackpad to a mouse. So press on it, a cursor will show up and you can actually change the settings. The settings I'm using, I'm targeting 40s here. It's basically medium settings, high textures, TAA. FSR, unfortunately, we only have FSR 1, which we're using ultra quality. Depth of field, I'm not a big fan, but we can enable it. There's some parts when it's super aggressive. Contact shadows, no. Blood effects, yes. And that's basically it. Kinda medium settings without motion blur and TAA enabled. You can disable TAA as well. After that, you can just go back like this, and we are into the game. As you can see, if you've ever seen this game before, this game does have mouse and keyboard in mind. They added a gamepad support thing for the 1.0 version, which is a huge plus for me, because I wanted to play this on the Steam Deck. Personally, you can also move the camera by holding Y and pressing on the triggers. You can zoom in and out. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the gamepad implementation. You can also jump from gamepad to mouse and keyboard in real time. As you can see, if I'm using a mouse and keyboard, it starts working right away. It's a real-time swap. So now I'm with a mouse. If I swap to the Steam Deck control, it changes the UI, basically. So that's good to see. And why am I targeting 40s? Well, that's a good question, because the game can drop below 60 very easily, even with the lowest settings. So that's basically the reason why. I mean, and if it drops frames here where nothing is happening, because the game can get pretty intense later on with the effects on screen, it's probably going to drop way lower. So my advice for this one is to just lock it to 40. If you don't want to use FSR, I understand, it's FSR 1, but the game itself already looks pretty blurry, so the extra sharpness, I think, on the smaller screen, it makes a big difference. So in this case, I think it's a good change. Just having some extra sharpness, and at the same time you get an improvement in performance. Alright, so I advanced a little more through the game. I crafted a sword, and I unlocked the frame rate as well. And we're looking at probably 1.5 hours, 90 to 100 minutes of battery when it comes to the 40 FPS target. Of course, if you lock it to 30, using these same settings, you're going to have more battery life. But again, I think 40 is a good balance of visuals and performance. And really with FSR 1 on the smaller screen, it doesn't look bad at all. It's a little bit over sharpened, but again, this game is just super soft. Even if I disable TAA, so I'm not sure what's up with that. And as I probably said many times in this video, the biggest change that this game had from early access to this is the first time I played it, is that it has gamepad support. So the game actually works with proper gamepad. Which seems like a small thing, but if you're playing on a Steam Deck, I mean, if you're using the trackpad as a mouse and clicking on things, it's just not the same. Also, the UI is way smaller without a gamepad, which makes complete sense. If you're playing on a computer, like on the older games like Diablo 2, and you don't have gamepad support, I mean, it's clearly built with a PC gameplay in mind, with mouse and keyboard. But with this, I will actually play it. It works fantastically well. Again, just the UI is a little bit small when it comes to the inventory and all that. But otherwise, I can play the game with a gamepad just fine. So good job developers for adapting the UI and everything for gamepad. It makes a huge difference, especially on the Steam Deck. So I'm going to be playing this with a friend, and when I get to a much higher level, I'm probably going to retest this to see if the settings work pretty well to maintain 40s across the board, because this game has like 90 levels. And it's probably pretty easy to drop below 40 in later levels when there's more enemies, there is people playing with you at the same time, so more effects on screen. But I think it's a great start so far. Okay, take all. How do I take? Oh, okay. So I can jump from one menu to the other. And I can transfer everything. There we go. Take all. Okay. So, yeah, gamepad is working pretty well. I was very worried about that. I thought, okay, it's going to be like maybe a Steam Deck Steam input configuration, but no, they actually have prompts, a different UI. So they actually built this for a controller now. So props to them. Do I wish I could play at 60 FPS? Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a full realistic game or anything like that. We're also playing a new game on a Steam Deck, so let's be honest here. But I think 40s is the best of both worlds when it comes to that. That's what I usually recommend for most people, but in this game I think it's absolutely necessary, because maintaining 60s when effects are on screen is pretty difficult. So yeah, do I recommend this on Steam Deck? If you don't mind playing at 40 FPS, it works pretty well. Just the fact that we have good gamepad support makes the entire difference. The UI for the inventory is a little bit small, which is, I would say, the biggest thing, but the rest works just fine. That's just my only advice, that maybe the inventory needs to be a little bit bigger. That's probably a big challenge for them, but I think it will be worth the effort. And we're now on 1.0, so it actually left early access, which I'm super happy about. That I found out about this game a month before early access ended, thanks to my friend that told me about it. But without gamepad support, there was no way I was going to make a Steam Deck video on it. And to close the video, I'm going to show you lowest settings, performance FSR 1. And as you can see, the game looks significantly worse when it comes to image quality. If you don't mind this, you can actually do it, but it's not using the entire GPU. The game is completely unlocked when it comes to frame rate. It's also unlocked on the Steam Deck OS menu thing. So you're not maintaining 60s, and at the same time the graphical sacrifice is just way too high. So I don't think it's worth doing this, because again, we're talking about less than 400p resolution and the settings on the absolute lowest. So you get worse shading, you get worse textures, and you still drop below 60 FPS. So I think it's better to keep it at 40 and enjoy better visuals and image clarity. But this is also an option if you're interested. I'm not sure how later on the game will run, considering that there will be way more effects on screen, but it's probably going to be into the 50s at least, considering how it runs over here. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did taking a look at V-Rising on the Steam Deck, and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys, thanks for watching.